We learned this afternoon that in just a few hours, the Trump administration is now poised to impose steep tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. NBC News reporting those costs are likely to be passed on to all of us at a time when inflation is already trending up. Thanks for joining us for 9 News at 5. I'm Tom Green.
And I'm Kim Christensen. The Trump administration insisted all day that these tariffs will take effect tomorrow, denying reports of a delay. It is a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. It's a 10% tariff on China. That means American companies who buy the imports will pay more to the U.S. Treasury. Many economists say that typically leads to higher prices for consumers. For Trump, this is promises made, promises kept. Throughout his campaign, he said he would put these tariffs in place, and on Inauguration Day, he said it would happen February 1st.
For a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits.
Mexico and Canada are both promising similar tariffs on U.S. goods. Chinese leaders have not yet commented. In Trump's first term, his administration put tariffs on Chinese goods, and China retaliated with tariffs of its own.
Also breaking this afternoon, a second federal judge now ruling against the Trump administration's try at freezing federal grants and loans. A coalition of states, including Colorado, said the funding freeze was illegal. The Trump administration said the ruling was not necessary since the president had already walked back the funding freeze proposal. And along the southern border today, we saw another Trump policy in action. A deportation flight left El Paso for Guatemala. U.S. Air Force officials say they were taking about 80 people back to their home country after they'd come to the United States without proper paperwork.
The reason these flights in particular are of significance is because it underscores the consequences of illegally crossing the border in the United States.
Also today, a member of the Trump administration in Venezuela to see if that country would collaborate in the same type of deportation flights, a pivot from the Biden years when Venezuela was heavily sanctioned for government corruption. Trump's team saying today they are specifically asking Venezuela to take back members of the prison gang Tren de Aragua. Officers conducting immigrant enforcement will now be able to arrest people at places like churches and schools. This after a change by the Trump administration last week.
The decision has school districts bracing for potential absences. 9 News reporter Evan Krugel has more on what schools across the state are seeing so far.
Kim, multiple districts we spoke with today say attendance data does not appear to show a significant impact, at least not yet. But administrators say they are bracing for changes as families without documentation wait to see what happens. Places like churches and schools have long been considered off limits for immigration operations. But a change in policy by the Trump administration has fueled anxiety and concern for some in the Hispanic community.
Well, right now they're afraid. So we're a little upset about what that messaging sends out to the community and to these children that are there to get an education. Sonny Subia is worried Coloradans without proper documentation will stop taking their kids to school after an arrest by immigration officers near a Loveland elementary school Wednesday morning. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Some of these kids are behind already because of a language barrier. Attendance numbers show that isn't happening, at least not yet. Denver Public Schools reported similar attendance last Wednesday to this Wednesday. And Boulder Valley says it's seeing pretty typical absence rates for this time of the year. Greeley Evans did see a 0.5% drop from last Thursday to this Thursday, but a district spokesperson pointed to illnesses going around and said they cannot at all attribute that to any fear over ICE raids.
I'd be shocked, frankly, if we don't lose more students.
Dr. Tony Bird is the superintendent for Summit K-12, where nearly 40% of the student population is Hispanic. He says they've only had a few absences this week, but says staff members are hearing about the emotional toll on students.
We have stories of students getting off the bus and running home and not going out to play where they normally would play.
Dr. Bird hopes students will continue to come, knowing they're safe to continue to learn.
So it's safe for you to be here, and we have you. We got your back. It's safe.
It is worth noting, historically, immigration operations at schools have been practically unheard of. Summit staff has been instructed not to allow anyone into the school without a judicial warrant. They're also asking parents to update emergency contact information to ensure students can be picked up by someone if parents are detained by immigration officials. Kim?
So much to think of, and when you're thinking of kids who sometimes just don't want to go to school because they don't feel great that day. A lot to be scared about.
We know students don't learn if they're not in school. They're hoping they continue to come and know that's a safe place as this is all happening.
All right, thank you, Evan.
You bet.
We now officially know that it was a single air traffic controller managing both airplanes and helicopters at Reagan International on the night of the crash in Washington. The NTSB holding a news conference just about 90 minutes ago, and in it the agency said the remains of more than 40 people have been recovered. Officials say the black box from the Army Black Hawk helicopter also has been recovered. Investigators trying to review the flight data recorder along with 2 from the plane while they try to piece together the cause. The NTSB says this investigation is going to take months to find out exactly what did happen.
Regarding staffing, the FAA has had a very robust plan in looking at staffing. Obviously, we'll be looking at not only staffing that day, but progressively staffing. How many people, what job functions they were doing. Were they being combined? Were they not? What was the weather outside? What was the number of landings?
This evening, the Army has identified 2 of the soldiers and the Black Hawk crew involved in the crash. Staff Sergeant Ryan Austin O'Hara presumed deceased pending a positive identification, and first responders are still searching for the remains of Chief Warrant Officer 2 Andrew Lloyd Eves. The 3rd soldier's name has not been released at the request of their family.
Tonight, families from all corners of the country are mourning the lives lost in Wednesday's plane crash in D.C. Today, we learned about Justina Beyer and her daughter, Brielle. They were returning home from a figure skating training. The first time the 12-year-old had Brielle's life that she had been away from her dad for more than 2 nights.
It was hard. I really missed them. I was really looking forward to giving them a hug.
Andy Beyer from Virginia says his daughter just sparkled and his wife did everything she could for their family. They were a true team, helping Brielle beat cancer as an infant.
I just thought we had put the worst of life behind us, and life doesn't work that way, I suppose, all the time.
And like so many families, Andy says he's in shock. His focus now is just being around his support system and helping his young son in their grief. We will continue to follow these stories on 9 News and on 9news.com. The 60-degree weather in Denver is enough to make you think, oh, springtime surely must be coming. But it's only January 31st. Flatiron Freddy, though, is going to make a prediction about the next few weeks on Sunday, Groundhog Day. Here's a reminder. This is what snow looks like. This video from 6 days ago, a bunch of people got to go sledding, hit the hill. It's quite a turnaround from then to now. Chris Spears is tracking our weekend forecast. And Chris, week to week, it's like, what? Where do I live?
It's what makes weather forecasting so fun in Colorado, Kim, as you know. 58 was the high today. We are down to 48. It'll fall into the 30s tonight here in the city. Something else we're going to talk about is the wind. Right now, speed's not too bad. A few places in the 15 to 25 mile per hour range. Estes Park, for instance, you've been pretty windy today. There's a storm in the northwest. We're going to get the southern fringe of that. So some snow will come into the mountains starting tonight and lasting through the weekend. The wind is going to pick up for the mountains and foothills, but it's a warm wind, so it's warm in Denver. How long will the warmth last? We'll talk about that in your forecast.